Okay, what if I told you that most of the arguments we see about risk, about safety and security, they're not really about the facts at all. They're actually about something much, much deeper. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the invisible, unseen foundations that literally shape our entire world. So, let's dive right in.
You've totally seen this happen, right? It's a question we all wonder about. You've got one group of experts saying this is perfectly safe, while another group is over here insisting it's a massive threat. So what's going on? Are they looking at different data? Is somebody not telling the truth? Well, the answer, and this is the fascinating part, is usually something way more fundamental.
It all comes down to this. The clashes we see, they don't usually come from the facts on the page. It's about the invisible filters, the windows, if you will, that these experts are looking through. So yeah, it's not just what they're seeing, it's all about how they see it.
All right, so to really get this, we need to talk about two fundamental pillars. These are ideas from philosophy, but they support every single thing we claim to know, whether that's in a super complex risk assessment, a security study, or even just in our own everyday lives. This stuff is the absolute bedrock. So the first pillar is something called ontology. Now that might sound like a big, scary word, but the question it asks is super simple. What is real? What actually exists? Think about it this way. If you and I look at a tree, we both pretty much agree, yep, that's a real tree. But what about something like love or justice? Are those real in the same way? So ontology is just asking that basic question. And when we apply this to our topic, the big question becomes, is risk a real, tangible thing out there in the world, like that tree? Or is it more like love, a powerful concept that we humans create?
And this is where it gets really, really interesting, because that question splits into two big camps. On one side, you have realism. A realist would say, look, risk is a real, objective thing. It's a property of a system, like the actual failure rate of a piece of equipment. It exists whether we measure it or even know about it. But then you have the other side, idealism. An idealist says, hold on, risk isn't a thing. It's a mental construction. It only exists because we humans think about the future and frame it with our hopes and our fears. So is risk out there in the world, or is it in here, in our heads?
Okay, so that brings us to our second pillar, epistemology. Another one of those big words, but again, a simple idea. If ontology asks what's real, then epistemology logically asks, okay, so how do we know it's real? It's basically the study of knowledge itself. You can think of it as our toolkit, the set of rules and methods we trust to give us real, valid knowledge about the world.
And this is how it all fits together, like building a house. It's a perfect illustration. At the very bottom, you have your ontology. That's the foundation. It's what you believe is real. Then, on top of that foundation, you lay down your epistemology. That's your blueprint. It's how you believe you can build knowledge about that reality. And only then, with the foundation and blueprint in place, do you get to practice. That's the actual building, the stuff we do in the real world, whether that's designing a safety protocol or crafting a huge security strategy. Foundation, blueprint, building. You can't separate them.
So look, this isn't just some abstract, dusty stuff you'd find in a philosophy textbook. No way. These ideas have huge, concrete consequences. So let's see how this whole architecture of belief we've been talking about actually builds the world of safety and security we all live in.
Okay, let's take a perfect example. The idea of safety I versus safety II. Safety I is the classic, traditional way we think about safety. It's all about preventing things from going wrong. It basically comes from that realist ontology we talked about. It sees accidents as real, objective failures in the system. So the job is to find what broke and fix it. It's reactive. But then you have safety II, which is a totally different mindset. It focuses on ensuring things go right. It defines safety not as the absence of negatives, but as the presence of positives. It's all about proactively figuring out why things succeed almost all the time. See the difference? It's about creating success, not just stopping failure.
And this fundamental difference in philosophy doesn't just change our goals, it changes the actual tools we use to measure and understand risk. And this quote just nails the huge divide you see in something like statistics. Are you looking for a simple yes or no answer, or are you looking for something more nuanced?
And here are those two different ways of knowing, those epistemologies in action. On the one hand, you have frequentist statistics. This is probably what you learned in school. It dominates a lot of fields. It's all about getting to a yes or no answer. You start with a null hypothesis, run your numbers, and if your p-value is less than 0.05, boom, you call it significant. It's very black and white. But then there's Bayesian statistics, which works completely differently. It starts with what you already know, your prior beliefs, and then it uses new data to update those beliefs.
It doesn't spit out a simple yes or no. Instead, it gives you this evolving, nuanced range of probabilities. It gives you a much richer picture of the uncertainty. So you can see, these aren't just two methods, they're two entirely different philosophies for building knowledge.
Okay, so what's the big takeaway from all this? The bottom line is, understanding these deep foundations is not just an academic game. It's absolutely 100% essential if we're serious about building better, more resilient, and truly safer systems for our incredibly complex world.
So, why does any of this matter to you personally? Well, for a few huge reasons. First, our hidden assumptions, our personal ontology and epistemology, they literally determine the solutions we come up with. Second, once you get this, you can listen to two experts disagreeing and actually understand why they're disagreeing on a fundamental level. It helps you critically evaluate what people are telling you. It also lets us start designing systems, at work, in our communities, wherever, that don't just prevent failure, but are built to create success. And maybe the biggest thing of all, it shows us that risk isn't always some simple objective fact. It's a deeply complex idea, and it's shaped by our most fundamental beliefs about how the world even works.
And that really leaves us with one final big question for you. Now that you can see this architecture of belief in action in the world of risk and safety, take a minute to think about it yourself. What are the unseen foundations that are shaping your world? What are the core beliefs about what's real and how you know things that are guiding your decisions? What's the bedrock that your own understanding is built on? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.